Welcome to Learning Photography with Duck. Here's your host, Duck.
Okie dokie. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of Learn Photography with Duck. As always, I am your host, Duck, and today we are photo Q&A. All right. So here's your chance to ask questions. I did a beginner's photo walk through Milford Photo on Saturday, and I invited those people to join us. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some new faces in here um, within a couple of weeks. We'll see.
Hey, Doc,
Yes, sir.
what's the thought for people who like flower photography? My experts tell me the flowers are blooming earlier this year than normal, so you have to depend on the experts on this one. I'm just relaying what I heard.
All right. So, in regards to early blooming, I have absolutely no green thumb. So, when it comes to plants, I basically go out, and if I see flowers, I know they're in bloom. All right. That said, all right.
Where'd you learn that technique?
um, uh, well, it's the same technique I use for the weather. You know, if I look outside, it's wet, it's raining. If it's white, it's snowing. You know, just like the weather idiot stick. You know.
They're not going to call me on the phone anymore.
Yeah, but I'm planning on doing the multiplicity photo shoot at Booth Memorial Park. So they have a beautiful rose garden there. So I decided I was going to go online and say, okay, when are roses supposed to be in bloom? And they said, they start blooming about mid-June, okay, early to mid-June. This is perfect because I want to host it, in the middle of June. So it'll be great because then that'll be when all the roses are going to be in bloom. Now, yesterday, when was it? Saturday? I can't even remember. Yesterday. They had Booth Memorial Park had their season opening, and they had a flag ceremony, and they had a car show, and they had a live band, the whole 9 yards, and it was a great event. I hooked up with a few photographers that decided they were going to take advantage of the open season there, and
North Haven camera.
a couple from North Haven, yes. Yes, absolutely. And at one point, we took a walk through the garden, to see how they were doing. And of course, they have some flowers that are in bloom. Don't ask me what the names are. They're pretty white ones and pretty pink ones. That's all I know. But I did notice that there are some roses that are starting to bloom. There were a few blooms. There were quite a few buds. And my wife had planted a rose bush in our front yard, and that has a couple of flowers on it. So there might be something to what you're saying that we may have an early bloom this year. Okay, there were some purple uh, purple lilies of some type that were in full bloom at the park, so that was pretty cool. And then I took some photos, in my attempt to collect new material for upcoming workshops. But anyway, so so
Yes.
um there were quite a few interesting cars. The problem with car shows is, of course, they need to maximize the space. So they park them, next to each other. So it's very difficult to have, and just an isolated image of a car, um, without having the clutter of its neighbors. Um, but I was able to get a few, and what I want to do is I want to get creative and kind of maybe experiment with the Firefly AI. See if we can kind of remove some of the clutter from behind the cars and clean up the background. So that'll be something that'll be coming down the pipeline, as well as maybe just doing some masking and compositing with a clean background plate, and mixing in some few other techniques. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, the multiplicity photo shoot, which I want to do, that's going to be followed up with a how-to. Um, so the question is, Father's the weekend before the Q&A for next month falls on Father, the day after Father's Day, the Father's Day weekend. So I'm debating, do I want to, even attempt scheduling something for a Father's Day weekend, um, or just move it to a different day and just, do a special Zoom session following it. So anyway, that's for me to decide, I guess. But that's coming down the pipeline. Actually, let me go ahead and do this, because that's, I posted it here. So the multiplicity photo shoot is going to be next month. Like I said, I haven't quite settled on a date or a time, um, but it'll be followed up by a how-to Photoshop session the following Monday. So whatever weekend I choose, that following Monday is going to be dedicated to the multiplicity photo shoot. All right. Also coming up, for those of you who are interested in maybe monetizing some of your photography, earning a little money by doing portraiture, the Connecticut PPA is going to be hosting two photographers who are going to be doing a full day event, full day workshop on what they call dynamic senior experience. And they basically walk through the whole process, the whole workflow of, not just the how to take pictures, but also a lot of the business behind it, how to market yourself, as well as a little hands-on workshop on how to photograph and then how to edit the senior photos. And if you're interested, the information's not live yet. I'm hoping to get it live on the website tonight, but there is at least temporarily a flyer regarding the upcoming workshop. So if you want to see some of their work, go to the CTPPA website, and right there on the front page, you're going to see the flyer for this event. And on the flyer are samples of their work, so you get to see exactly what they will be teaching. So if that's something that's interesting to you, by all means, that's going to be coming up June 28th, which is a Friday. And like I said, it's going to be an all-day event. It starts at 9 in the morning, it goes on until 4 in the afternoon. It's going to be at Illicit Brewery in Manchester. And they have some beautiful grounds to be able to photograph. They're going to be bringing in a couple of models to do the demonstration, and of course, there's going to be the editing afterwards. So, if it's something that's up your alley, or if you know somebody that is looking to up their game in doing portraiture, doing and it even though this is designed around doing senior portraits, high school seniors. Uh, a lot of the lessons here can be applied to family portraiture as well. So don't let the name senior portraits really dissuade you from attending if what you're interested is family portraiture as well, because this helps a lot. So if you know somebody who's into family portraiture, somebody who's getting into it, somebody that maybe they're toying around with the idea and aren't sure if this is something that they want to do, here's a good opportunity to ask a couple of professionals about what it takes to get into that business. So anyway, that's coming up. All right. So today is Q&A. So that means we have hopefully answers to your questions. All right, Brian, what's up?
I have a question that I didn't have 2 minutes ago, and it's about this senior shoot
Sure.
you're talking about. First, I misunderstood it when you said dynamic seniors, because I am one, I think. I take a picture of old folks. That's kind of cool, because I know some senior center joints where this might work out. Anyway, but really the question is, I've been on a couple of, headshot shoots with you and seen what you've done to set up and that type of thing. So if someone were thinking of doing this kind of as a, I guess, senior retire side hustle,
Mhm.
and I don't have any of the lighting, what would someone have to get without, do you need all the things that you had that day, or okay?
No. Okay, so you have a very legit question that has there's the correct answer,
Yeah.
then there's the politically correct answer, and there's the answer that should be given but nobody gives because they don't want to get themselves in trouble. All right. The big elephant in the room when it comes to any kind of I'm going to use the term professional photography to differentiate from amateur photography, and not as far as technical ability, but as far as monetization of a product or service. Okay. As a professional photographer, when you are selling a product or service, there's a certain expectation of level of quality. All right. You take your car into a garage to get repaired. You're not expecting some Joe Schmo that doesn't know how to use a screwdriver and impact, wrench, right? And making wild guesses, say, I think it might be this, but I'm not quite sure. Give it a test drive, and if it doesn't work, come and see me, right? You're gonna look at that guy and go, how can you be in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way. Unfortunately, the term photographer is applied to anybody with a camera, and in actuality, that's what really is. But in people's minds, they kind of differentiate it. If you're calling yourself a photographer, there's a certain expectation of a certain level of quality that you're going to be showcasing. It's not just, I'm going to take out my cell phone and I'm going to take a picture of whatever's over there and I'm going to call myself a photographer. They'll probably laugh in your face. All right. So there's that expectation of what you should be able to deliver as a photographer. Okay. Especially if you are looking to charge anything. Now, as far as entry level, okay, you can be an entry level professional photographer with nothing more than just a camera. You don't need fancy equipment. However, there is a certain expectation that you should know how to use the equipment you have and be able to deliver a professional level uh, um, product in the end. Okay. So when somebody hires you, there's a certain expectation of deliverables, and you have to be able to deliver that product without excuses, without complaints, and with hopefully without a lot of errors. Even if you are just learning. All right. So uh, the minimum you need is a camera. All right. But the camera alone is not the only thing that's needed when it comes to photography. Along with not only just knowing how to use the camera, is knowing how to use the camera in relation to your environment, how to manipulate your environmental light, how to adjust your settings in order to take advantage of whatever light you have and use it to its maximum capabilities, and then be able to take it into an editing program and bring out the most you can from those files in order to deliver an end result, whether it be digital files, which is very common nowadays, or a printed actual physical print, and that could be print on paper, print on canvas, print on metal, on acrylic, whatever it is that you're selling your client. Okay. And so that's the camera side, that's the photography side. The other side that really separates a professional from an amateur is the business side. Being able to, provide a service with, the most amount of professionalism, with the least amount of excuses, because nobody likes to hear excuses. Okay. And have a certain amount of surety that you're going to get the job done no matter what, which then requires a certain amount of confidence for you to deliver what you promise. Okay. And if you can't deliver on what you promise, then one, either don't promise something that you can't deliver, lower, not your expectations, but lower their expectations, because everybody's got to start somewhere. And a lot of times we start off with family and friends who know our abilities may be a little bit less than, what it should be. All right. And that gives you a little bit of room for error. And, so if you screw up, they know you're still learning. Their family, their friends, they'll forgive you very easily. A stranger is not going to forgive you as easily, especially if they're shelling out money. Okay. One of the things that you can do to up your ante is obviously practice, practice, practice. I can't say that enough. You want to do something new, practice it before you put it onto the public. And I do that here in my studio. I'm always practicing with something because I never know when a client is going to say, "Hey, I need this. Can you do it?" All right. And if I've never done it, I can't look at them and say, "Well, I've never tried it, but I'm willing to give it a go." They're not going to hire you. They're not going to hire you. If you're a friend or a relative, and there's no skin in the game for them or for you, then yeah, they might say, "Oh yeah, give it a shot." But if they're hiring me as a business, I can't say that to them. I also can't I can't, well, I can lie, but I shouldn't lie to them, because then if I fail, it makes me look bad because I promised to deliver a certain product. And if I fail and I'm unable to deliver that product, they can turn around and sue me, and nobody wants to get sued. Absolutely not. So, so there's the business end, so you have to be able to provide the end results that you're being hired to do, and have the sureties and the backups and the ability and the commitment to deliver it. All right. So if you want to get into a side hustle, that's great. Okay. One of the best ways to do side hustles is with people start off there. Get your feet wet in a low pressure environment, such as friends and family. Okay. Yeah, you're probably not going to charge anything, but it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to give you the experience. All right. So it, when you first start doing something, you don't know what you're doing. So you have to work out all the kinks. You're going to be making mistakes. All right. And you want to make those mistakes when there's no skin in the game. All right. Once you've learned what to do and what not to do, and you can do it repetitively, with a consistently decent return or results, at that point you can say, okay, I'm going to start charging money. All right. Because I have the confidence in myself to be able to deliver a quality product because I've done it several times already as I've been practicing. All right. So now what you have to do is, if you say, well, I don't have lights. Okay. So get a friend, get your wife. All right. Hopefully she won't complain too much about being your model. All right. And even though, yeah, you're thinking about getting into doing senior portraits, portraiture is portraiture. All right. Senior portraiture is just kind of like this exclusive little club of a broader umbrella. Okay. It's a niche. All right. But portraiture is portraiture. And if you don't have lights, you have to learn how to utilize natural light. And you have to use it in you have to know how to use it early in the morning, middle of the afternoon, later in the evening. All right. So that way you're kind of flexible to a person's schedule and says, well, I can't do anything until after school, or I can't do anything until, weekends or whatever. All right. You have to be able to understand that, all right, at the time frame that they want me, the light's going to be like this. And I should have enough information in my toolbox to say, okay, in order to shoot under these lights, I have to be aware of this, and this. Okay. And that comes from experience. All right. So, you're not going to do, if it's middle of the day, you're not going to do anything in bright sun unless you have the technique to deal with bright sun light. Okay. Can it be done? Absolutely. Absolutely. Can it be done effectively? Yes. You need to figure out how to do it. All right. It's not just, let's give this a shot, see what happens. Okay. The other thing is, you may not have lights, but you may get away with using reflectors, using scrims, all right, using some kind of bounce card. Okay. If this is something that you want to experiment, can it be something that I can do by myself, or am I going to have to hire an assistant? Okay. If you have a wife that is willing to be your assistant, then you have to train her to help you out. So that way, She understands what to give you when you ask for a certain thing with whatever tool you're using. Okay. The other thing is you need to understand what's going to make a good photo in relation to what makes a photo. All right, especially when it comes to portraiture. Backgrounds are very important. How a person dresses is very important. Props help tell a story. So all these things work in conjunction with, creating an overall mood. Okay. So if that's the case, then you need to have a ready index of locations that you know are going to give you a beautiful background any given time of the year. All right. Most senior portraits happen around, spring and fall, with a few, throughout the summer. Okay, but usually, people are thinking about senior portraits when they're getting out of school or back into school. Summer times their attention tends to go, wherever else. Okay, but there's no reason why you can't schedule something during the summertime, if that's something you promote. Okay. So you need to have a ready index of locations. You have to have an understanding of how to pose a person to maximize their beauty and minimize any flaws. And that only comes with practice, you know. There are plenty of professional photographers that are strictly natural light photographers. Okay. And there are plenty of natural light photographers that will enhance their natural light with a small speed light, either on camera or off camera to one side or the other. Okay. So, that is not an expensive kit. As a matter of fact, that's a very, very easy to afford lighting kit. Is maybe one or two speed lights with a small modifier and a couple of lightweight light stands. All right. In photography, it's called a strobist kit. Mm-hmm. And it's very affordable, and can give you professional quality results with a minimal amount of monetary investment. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason why you can't do it with just a camera.
Good, thank you.
Awesome. Which brings us to we just recently did it wasn't really a workshop, and Bill will attest to this, where we just kind of got together and played around with lighting and headshot scenarios, and we had a good time, huh, Bill? Oh, is Bill Maya? Oh, there he is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were at Bill Rick Saburi's studio up in Cheshire. Small little studio, and he does a lot of portrait work. And we had a good time. So, and I know Bill has some questions regarding that. So,
yes.
Go for it.
Alrighty, you talked about broad lighting and short lighting. When do you use what?
Okay. Kind of marrying what, excuse me. Oh, I mowed my lawn earlier today and my eyes are itchy as all heck. All right. touching a little bit on what I mentioned to Brian and matching it in with what you're asking, Bill, is in regards to, what's the difference between broad light and short light and when do you use what? Okay. What Bill's referring to is while we were at this workshop, we're basically we were seriously we were just goofing around with lights and let's try this, let's try that, let's try whatever. And the thing is, when you are communicating with others in the industry, you need to be able to communicate effectively in order to get the results you need. Okay, so this touches a little bit about what I said earlier with you, Brian, maybe using a assistant, using your wife as your assistant. All right. You need to be able to communicate effectively. And one of those things is understanding the terms that are utilized within the photography industry. Okay. When it comes to lighting, there are certain go-to lighting effects or lighting setups that are pretty much universal. Everybody should learn these. And the reason you want to learn them is because it gives you a starting point, and being able to communicate with somebody else without having to educate them or overly explain what it is that you want. So one of the things that was being, a couple of terms that were being tossed around while we were playing with the lights is like, oh, this is short light, this is broad light. Okay. And I was tossing those out, and everybody in the room, with, well, maybe two people's exceptions, understood exactly what it was that I was saying. So let's give a little rundown of what some of these basic lighting scenarios are, what defines those lighting scenarios. All right. And this way it gives you a starting point when you want to do portraits. Okay. Now, I'm going to be switching cameras over to, I'm going to be demonstrating this in the studio. Now, I'm going to be using this little LED light just because I can move it around very, very easily to show you the different lighting scenarios. Okay. But even though traditionally for portraiture, we tend to use an off-camera flash or off-camera light of some type, all of these lighting scenarios can also be replicated with sunlight, depending on how you position your subject in relation to that light. Okay, so just keep in mind, even though I'm demonstrating with this, it's applicable to any kind of light. If it gives you light, you can set up these scenarios. Okay, so let me switch over. Oops, that's not what I want. Where are we? Oh, here we go. All right, this is going to be my model for the day. As a matter of fact, why is she so bright? I thought I had it. Look at that. Thought I had it all set up, and now let's see. Configure. There we go. Apply. Okay. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. So this light. Oh. I think I better swing my microphone so you guys can hear me. All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So this is my model for the evening. All right. And as you can see, I purposely dimmed the lights down here in order for my LED to be very pronounced. Okay. Typically, the first thing that we do when we are using flash is we will take an initial photo of our scene with no light. And what we want is we basically want a dark frame. Okay. And what that tells us is that any light that gets introduced into this scene is now generated by our light. Okay. In this particular case, we're not, because it's video, obviously, we're picking up all the house lights that are illuminating. So, but anyway, the first one that I'm going to show you is what is called flat lighting. Flat lighting is where you have the light is in the same axis as the camera. And as you can see, there's little definition. Everything is very flat. It's all light, no shadow. Okay. Well, there is shadow, but the shadow is back here where the camera can't see it. Okay. So this is very boring lighting. All right. This is something that tends to be, it can be utilized, but not too often. Okay. This is very boring light. Okay. The two most commonly used ones is what's called a broad light or a short light. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our subject just a little bit. Okay. Okay. And well, let me just do this real quick. Okay. From the nose, okay, to this side as I turn the subject 45 degrees. From the nose to that side is the short side, because you can see that only a small portion of the face is being shown, right? Everybody see that? Just this part? Okay. Mm-hmm. From the nose to this side, okay, you can see that we have more of the face visible. This is the broad side of the face as seen from camera. Okay? So what is broad lighting and short lighting? Well, if we are putting our light on the broad side of the face, that's broad light. Make sense? Actually, here, let me bring the volume up. If we rotate the light to the other side, so now our light is on camera left. Okay, we are lighting the. Let me turn it. We are lighting the short side. Okay, notice how all of this is in shadow. The broad side of the face is in shadow. Okay, so these are the two most common ones, and these are the ones that you should probably to learn to use the most first. Okay, why? They will give you a different look. Broad light makes the face look broader. All right, so take a look at this in relation to this. All right, notice how the face gets slimmer as the light is lit on the broad side. I mean on the short side. Okay. And the light gets fatter looking on the broad side. Okay. So what you want to do is, play around. Maybe the person's a little bit on the heavier side. You might want to slim them down by putting the light on the short side. Okay. Maybe they have good cheek structure, all right? And they have the Adonis look. The broad lighting may work better for them. Okay. So broad light, short light. All right. Any questions about those two?
I understand it now.
Okay. So this is probably the easiest ones to get. Okay. Now, what I want you to also understand when it comes to any kind of lighting, it's not necessarily always about the position of the light in relation to the camera. All right. Because, like, for example, in this case, for my broad light, I have the light on the camera right. Okay. And then for my short light, I have the light on my camera left. Okay. I can have my light on the camera left and still have broad light. Okay. All right. Because it's not dependent on the light position to the camera. It's dependent on the position of my subject to the light. Okay. The other thing is I can plant my light here. Okay. And I can move the camera in relation to everything and get different results. Okay. So this is flat lighting. All right. And I'm just walking around and now getting a short light. Okay. All right. So it's the interplay of light on the subject, not necessarily where they physically are in the room. All right. If that makes sense. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get my model here to stay still. Good, good, good. All right. We said earlier that flat lighting is not the most flattering light, and you can see from this example that it really isn't. However, if we take that light and put it up a little above, all right, now we are starting to introduce shadows underneath the chin, underneath the lip, underneath the nose, okay? You don't want to go too high because then it just becomes this kind of like spooky, what's called raccoon eyes, all right? So if you notice the deep parts of the eye sockets kind of become dark, that's kind of like that raccoon eye, all right? But if we have it kind of like at a 45-degree angle, now what we get is what it's called butterfly light. Let me see if we can get her to, there we go. Butterfly light, because if we look at the shadow underneath the nose, okay, it kind of looks like this little butterfly, right? It's also referred to as paramount lighting. Back in the 30s, 40s, and even well into the 50s, this was a very traditional light photographing actors and actors, especially actresses, because it really, really accentuated their features. Okay, so this is butterfly lighting. Okay, do I have? Let me see if I have a reflector real quick. Okay. One variation, all right, it's not a lighting type, all right, it's butterfly lighting, but what we do is we have the light 45 degrees above, all right, and then what we can do is we can take a white reflector and put it underneath, all right, and you can see how it kind of opens up the shadows here. Oh, let me go. Okay. All right, everybody see that? Move it away, bring it in. Okay. What we can do is we can control the amount or the lightness and darkness of the shadows on the underside. And this is what would be traditionally called clamshell lighting. All right, so clamshell lighting is just a variation of the paramount or butterfly light. All right. Okay. Other two that are nice to know, to understand, and requires the model to really hold their pose, all right, rather than just kind of moving around. You need to direct them a little bit. And this is what would be called Rembrandt lighting. Okay. So traditionally, what we would do is we would take the light and put it 45 degrees to one side or the other, left or right, okay, and about 45 degrees up, okay. And if you notice, what it's doing is it's lighting one side of the face really, really brightly, and it's casting shadows on the opposite side, okay. And if we do it so at 45, 45, you'll notice that it creates this little triangle of light on the cheek opposite of where we're putting our light. That is very typical of a Rembrandt painting, where Rembrandt used natural light coming in through a window. And he positioned his subject to give you that little bit of a triangle. All right, so when you see that, that is Rembrandt. Okay, but more often than not, when we're in a studio, we have our camera in a fixed position. We have our light in a fixed position. Okay, and then our subject is going to be guided by you as to turn left, turn right, whatever, look up, look down, chin up, chin down, all right, and all that good stuff, okay? What you got to do is, if you want that Rembrandt lighting, you have to tell them, all right, turn to your right a little bit, turn, okay, stop right there, maybe look up a little bit, look down a little bit, okay? Once you see that little triangle, that's when you can go ahead and take a picture. Okay. But as soon as they turn, you know, they're going to be in a totally different lighting situation. Okay. Right. They're going to go into a broad light. Okay. Or you can do a short light. Okay. All right. Any question on Rembrandt lighting? Rembrandt. Okay, you get that little triangle. Okay, it's a very extreme light. Okay, and again, if you find that the shadows are a little bit too extreme, you could always introduce some kind of white reflector, all right, to control the amount of shadow, all right, the shadow intensity, just by, you know, how close and how far. Okay. All right.
Okay, I have a question. You mentioned
Yep.
guys. Somebody warned me that if I use a speed light on somebody and bounce the light from the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Okay. Well, here's my card. I'm going to put it right on top of her head, and I'm going to shine the light straight up. Actually, let me see. Let me see if I can bring the light straight up. Okay. So in essence, I'm bouncing the light. I don't know if you can see it. I'm
Yeah.
straight up,
Mhm.
straight up. Okay. Obviously, the light won't be on uh, that the ceiling won't be this close, obviously, but I'm working with an LED here. Okay. Uh, but the thing is, the light is pointing upward, hitting the ceiling, but it's also being cast in other directions.
Okay.
All right. So it's not like the majority of the light is coming down from the ceiling, especially if the ceiling is, 2, 3, 4 feet above the subject. Okay. By the time the light goes up there, hits the ceiling, and comes back down, it's not very intense. Okay. The ambient light in the room is going to be affecting the the person. Okay. So even let me see if I can do this. All right. I'm going to recreate the all right. So now I have my main light directly above my model here, right? And it's giving the raccoon eyes. Okay.
Mhm.
Right now, this is just the light and really nothing else. Okay. Now, what you're seeing here, these little bits of light on the cheeks, that's coming from my overhead light, my LED overhead light, my room lights, my ambient light. Okay. When I take this light and I put it, above, I'm just exaggerating that. But that light is going to be bouncing off walls, floors, other people, all right, other things in the room. Okay, so here it is, raccoon eyes, this stuff being reflected over all kinds of other surfaces. Notice how it's no longer raccoon eyes.
Okay, yes.
All right, I haven't moved the light is still there, right here. Okay, light hasn't moved. The only thing that's changed is lights being bounced from other parts of the room. So you're not going to, you'll never get raccoon eyes from bouncing a speed light to the ceiling. Never, never, ever,
Let me
ever.
ask you one more question.
Sure.
Thank you. Let me ask you one more question. Should I have the speed light go straight up?
I usually do.
Okay, but sometimes I see it people tilting it, and sometimes I see people do it straight up. Now, I also have a card behind the light, so there is light going up, and there is light being flashed from
Mm-hmm.
the card behind it.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Let's see if
So should I not use the back card?
here. No. I'll tell you exactly what the card does. Okay. All right. Can you see my light?
Yes.
All right. Can you see the light coming from it?
Yes, I can.
You can?
Can, yes, C-A-N.
No, you can see the housing,
Yes.
but you can't
Oh,
see any of this.
On the back. I see a little light on the back.
Well, on the back, yeah. All right. But you really can't see the light very much.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If my subject was over here, all right, or actually no, camera's here. If my subject is here, all right.
Yes. Okay, that looks good. Yes.
Okay. But what's going to happen is it's going to be lit, all right. But because it can't see the light, all right, there's no specularity going on. All right. So what is specularity? Let's bring this person back in. Okay. These little bits here, all right, that is specularity. Okay. What you are seeing, all right, what you are seeing in this particular image, okay, obviously is a very underexposed subject, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if we were to look at the areas of the face when it's lit, we can see that, oh, that's a gray color. Okay. As soon as I have the light off, it's still gray, but it's gray with no light on it. So it's an underexposed true tone value. Okay. So the only thing that is affecting our subject now is the ambient light, okay, which is also hitting the background here. All right. And you can see the light is actually directly above here. That's why we have more light here than we have here. Okay. And that's why we're seeing a brighter spot here than we do here, because our light is over, it's literally right there. Okay. Okay. So this is specular light. Specular light. Okay. As soon as I aim my light to the subject, okay, you're going to notice that the specular highlights have changed. The entire face is being lit. How do we know? Because now we can see the true tone value of the color of the mannequin. Okay. But this here, this shiny spot on the nose and on the upper lip and on the lip and on the chin, this is specular highlights. Specular highlights is nothing more than the reflection of the light. Okay, now watch what happens. I'm going to take that light, instead of pointing it at the subject, I'm going to point it straight up. Okay. All right. Notice how there is, all right. And what I did is I dropped it down so we can get light onto the, onto the mannequin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We really have no specular highlights, okay, from this light. We're getting illumination, but really no lights. As soon as I take my card and put it here, all right, let's see if I can do, if I can balance this and still have a hand. Okay. Ugh.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
can you hold that thought for 1 second? Because I want to get my speed light. I want to show you what I'm talking about.
Oh, no. I hear you. All right. Here, I'll show you. This is my speed light.
Thank you.
This is now my card. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the speed light is pointing up. The card is now pointing towards my subject. Okay. See these little speculars?
Yes.
Okay. That's the card. That's not my light. That's the card.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's not going to be noticeable like this on skin tones, because one, this is very large. All right. So if I were to make it smaller, well, we still that. But what will happen is the eyes, which are much more shiny, all right, and has a higher reflective efficiency, the eyeballs will see this white card, and the white card will be reflected in the eyeballs, and you'll get that little glint
Okay.
in the eyes.
Okay.
That's all this does. That's all.
So
That's
what
all
you
that
mean by-
does.
What do you call that?
The sparkle in the eyes.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, that's all it does. It's just put sparkle in the eyes. Okay.
Good, thank you.
All right.
And therefore, I should have the speed light straight up instead of at an angle, right?
No, you can tilt it a little bit towards. All right. But if you have that card, I don't know if I can replicate it here. Okay. If you have that card, it's just going to create more. It's going to really add specularity to the eyeball. It's
Okay,
it's kind of hard here because everything is really reflective.
okay.
It's
It's
plastic.
what you were going for. I mean, when I do that, I aim the flash, I bounce the flash halfway between myself and the subject. For what I shoot.
You do what? Aim to flash.
And at the ceiling.
Oh, at the
flash
ceiling.
goes halfway between me and the subject.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If the eyeball can see any part of this, all right. So here we go. Okay. Move this. If your flash is straight up, okay, all right, and the camera is now your subject's eyeball, okay. The eyeball can't see the light. The light is just going straight up, hitting the ceiling and bouncing around. So nothing's going to get reflected in the eyeball. As soon as you start adding a little bit of tilt, that is going to get reflected in the eyeball. Okay? So now, actually here, I got a piece of paper here. Now, if we have this, kind of bouncing up, but a little bit coming, why am I so out of focus here? Come on, focus. Okay? But as soon as I add that card, I'm literally doubling and tripling the size of my light. So now this card, along with this little bit of light, is now being reflected in the eyeball. Okay? And of course, at this point, I'm very close to the camera. But if I were to, really be further back, okay? All right. That compared to that, big difference. Okay. So this, a nice small little pinpoint of light on the eye. This, a beautiful catch light in the eye. Okay, that's all it does. Okay, make sense?
Thanks.
All right, one more lighting situation, and that covers pretty much all the basics. All right, so we covered, let me get rid of this piece of paper. We covered flat light, broad light, short light, Rembrandt, and butterfly. Okay, the other one is loop light. Okay, so we take our light 45 degrees, all right, and 45 degrees, all right, and we get our Rembrandt, okay, but if we bring it in just a little bit, we get a little bit of a shadow on this side of the nose, so we get our dimension, okay, but notice how this light is just kind of looping around. That's loop light. Okay, Rembrandt, loop. Rembrandt, loop. And it's literally 3 inches this way, 3 inches back. That's all I've moved my light. Okay, now once you have your light, if your subject here, there they are, Rembrandt light. As soon as they turn their head a little bit, there they are, loop light. Okay, see that little shadow right here? Okay, loop light, short light, broad light. Okay? All right, let me turn this off. Oops. Keep things over. And where's my studio? Okay. Any questions about any of those?
No,
That,
thank you.
that's a
Thanks, Doc.
that's a rundown on if you want to. Now, I know you guys aren't you know,
Hey,
traditional
Doug.
portrait. Yeah.
You're off mic.
Oh. That helps. Sorry. I forgot I moved my microphone. Thank you. All right. So even though you may not be actively going out for being a portrait photographer, if you are a family photographer, where you're documenting, you know, your family and you want to take great pictures of your family members, if you understand these go-to lighting situations, you're going to come out with some very flattering family portraits. All right. And all of that can be done with a light. With a window. Okay. It's how you position your subject in relation to that window and you in relation to your subject. Okay. Oh, I actually did forget a couple. I don't know if I can replicate it here. Let me see. All right. If you put the, yeah, it's not gonna do it. If that looks terrible. But anyway, if you put the light on the side, all right, where it's lighting, you know, one side and the other one's going into shadow, that's split lighting. Okay. And then if you have the light just kind of hitting that little bit of an edge, that's rim light. All right. But those are kind of like specialty lights. Okay. Anyway, enough. All right. So, but seriously, if you're going to learn any two, just learn broad light and short light. Broad light and short light. Okay. So you got your face. Usually 45 degrees is very flattering with a portrait, with the eyes looking towards the camera. If it's lighting this side, it's short light. If it's lighting this side, it's broad light, because this is the broad side to the camera. This is the short side to the camera. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. All right. So getting back to the discussion earlier with Brian and having an assistant, or with you, Bill, when we were at the studio, being able to just say, hey, you know, Rick, you're standing over by that light over there. Do me a favor, give me some broad light over here. He'll know where to put that light with no further explanation other than what I just told him. Okay. And then, as you saw, once I have my broad light, I can now finesse my model or my subject to giving me a Rembrandt light or a loop light. Okay. And further refining the look. All right. Any questions on anything we just covered? Because that was quite a bit.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Bob, you're good?
I'm good.
Bob's day of taking portraits is over, right?
Yeah, I think it's inspired me to landscape photography.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Can it be used in landscape photography? Yeah, actually.
No, what I meant to say was it inspired me to realize that I keep my efforts concentrated on landscape photography. I don't know if I deal well with people.
Yeah. Hey, if you take pictures of your wife, you got to understand, does she want good light on her or bad light on her? You know, because you can make somebody look really, really bad with bad lighting. All right. And then she won't be talking to you for a while if you do that. Okay. As a matter of fact, oftentimes when, and Bill, you probably can relate to this. How many times I've been at an event and I'm taking pictures of people, and I'll aim my camera at somebody and they'll go, "Oh, don't take a picture of me. I take terrible pictures." No, you don't take terrible pictures. You have bad pictures taken of you by somebody who, um, but if you pull them aside, and once you know these little go-to lighting situations, you pull them aside and say, "Here, let me take a nice picture of you." Okay? And you create that Rembrandt light or the short light, typically short light for women, all right? Because it tends to be a little bit more forgiving and more moody, okay? Or give them that Paramount light. They're going to look at your results and go, "Oh, wow, I've never had anybody take my picture that well before." And of course, they're going to remember you for giving them, making them look good. All right. So yeah, it's not necessarily being in a studio taking studio portraits in a controlled environment. It's anytime you're aiming your camera at a person. Okay. And sometimes all it takes is for you to walk maybe 4 steps in one direction or the other, and getting better light. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions that we can answer for you guys?
No question, but it just occurred to me, Duck, I was the group photographer yesterday for this inner engineering event that I volunteer at
Okay.
a couple times a year, and we were probably 200 yards from Booth Park.
Oh, no way.
The Hindu Cultural Center.
Oh, yeah. Right up the street. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm getting better with those group photos anyway.
Awesome. Any news from anybody? Anything going on in your circles that you want to share? No? That's it? Okay. All right. That's pretty much it then. Unless anybody's got any last minute questions.
I guess you can apply the same thing to animals.
Animals? Yes. Absolutely. If you have a dog or a cat, same thing.
I gotta imagine. I'm not sure.
Okay. So, yeah. Anything that has a face. Okay. Still life. If you do still life, you can still we don't really refer to those type of lighting situations with still life, but you can see how interacting with a still life environment, broad light is going to give you it's going to light the broader side of your still life than short light, or rim light or split light. Okay. The one thing you want to avoid is that dead on flat light. All right, where the light is literally right in line with the camera lens. That's not good. Okay. So, all right, guys. As always, it's a pleasure. Let's see. Let me pull up. Oh, again, if you are interested in the dynamic seniors, all right, go to the CTPPA website. We're going to be updating this with a lot more information, but this just gives you kind of an idea of the type of photos these guys create. You can see they're highly stylized. They play around with a lot of off-camera flash. a lot of Photoshop work, but even if you take 10% of what they do, it's going to elevate your work 100%. That's the way I feel. Okay. All right, guys. We'll catch you. We'll catch you next time. Stay safe.
Thank you for watching Learning Photography with Duck. Brought to you in association with Milford Photo, your local full-service camera store. Located in downtown Milford, Connecticut, Milford Photo offers you a personalized shopping experience. From the latest camera gear to printing and framing services. And, of course, educational workshops to teach you the finer aspects of photography. Don't forget to tell them Duck sent you.